Good Thursday morning to you, or should I say happy Friday Eve. Happy holiday weekend just about. I'm Julie Grant and this is Court TV Live. We got a busy morning. This morning, we're going to be in Connecticut for the closing arguments in the Preppy Party Murder Trial. The defendant is a young man who's 20 years old now. His name is Raul Valley. He was a minor at the time, but being tried as an adult, accused in a brawl that turned deadly. Prosecutors say that he illegally stabbed to death 17-year-old Jimmy McGrath, and he died. They say he illegally also stabbed 3 other people who were injured, but thankfully survived. This was over the course of an evening where 2 high school parties were going on. While we wait for court to start up at 10 a.m. Eastern, we're bringing you the very best moments from the trial testimony all throughout this hour. So we're going to start off with the background of the case, how we got to the charging and the point of trial. Court TV's Julia Janae has this report.
It's hard that I lost my best friend, and I'm sad. I'm confused.
On May 14th, 2022, 4 Connecticut high school students were stabbed outside of a house where dozens of underage kids were drinking and partying. One student, 17-year-old James McGrath, was killed.
I don't know why it would happen to him or anyone, and it's hard to accept.
Jimmy McGrath was a high school junior and star lacrosse player. The news of the stabbings sent shockwaves through the community.
I think that sometimes we as a whole get desensitized to these types of events, but when it hits home, you know, it's hard because they're your neighbors, they're your friends, they're your classmates, they're your associates in work, and, you know, they're a family.
Your Honor, we have Raul Valley on the party docket today.
Raul Valley, whose nickname is Lido, was 16 years old at the time of the incident. He's being charged as an adult. He's now 20 and faces a murder charge as well as 3 assault charges. Prosecutors say there were 2 fights at 2 different houses that led to the tragedy. The trouble began at a party for students from St. Joseph's High School, where witnesses say Raul Valley got drunk and then got into a fight with another teen, Ryan Hines. After the fight broke up, Valley and several of his friends tracked Hines down to a second party about 1.5 miles away, where dozens of kids from Shelton High School were partying. The situation spun out of control, and a brawl ensued between Valley and his friends and the teens at the second party.
We just want to make sure that there's no animosity between students of different schools, because you know this was a tragedy, but it wasn't a tragedy created by a rivalry.
Hines and 2 other teens were stabbed but survived their injuries. Jimmy McGrath later died. McGrath didn't attend either school and is described as an innocent bystander who was trying to break up the fight.
We've been surrounded by love, and it's helped.
Raul Valley pleaded not guilty and is asserting a self-defense claim. Prior to the start of his trial, he had twice rejected a 40-year plea deal. If he's convicted of murder, he could be sentenced to between 25 and 60 years in prison.
Wow. Julia Janae reporting there. Let me bring in now our legal analyst guest, criminal defense attorney Joseph Tully. And we're so grateful he woke up early to join us this morning. He's on the West Coast. Joseph, good morning to you. You look like you've had your coffee. You're ready to go, but we certainly appreciate the early effort today. So let's talk a little bit about the closing arguments. This is so huge today in such a tricky case. I know that you've done these cases before, and I was talking with my colleagues as we were watching Julia's report about just how messy fight cases could be, and the jury has to sort through all those facts, all the testimony. Would you give us some perspective from both sides on this and what they have to do in showing up for the closes today?
Sure. So whenever I get, like, let's say a bar fight case, it's always a triable case, always. So some cases aren't meant to go to trial. Some cases are meant to pursue a plea. Other cases are, you know, always have the ability to go to trial. And I can't think of a better example than like a group fighting case. And as the last guest mentioned, a lot of the same facts are used by both sides, the exact same facts, but they can be spun either way. For instance, the 4 victims here, the 4 complainants, who were injured. Well, if there's 4 people injured, the defense can always say, hey, look, that means there was 4 people in close enough range coming at him. That constitutes self-defense. So I guess sort of the takeaway is that it's always a triable case. Both sides will use the same facts and just sort of have their own take on it.
Sure. Joseph, tell me, in terms of resolving this case, we know there were 2 attempted resolutions that the state did offer him, 2 plea offers. We don't know the terms that were proposed. We just know that he rejected both of them. Talk to us, please, about some of the considerations you have to go through with your client when they do have a dicey case like this one and there is something on the table and weighing as to whether or not you should accept an offer or take it to trial.
Sure. So right off the bat, you're starting out with a young person, and that weighs heavily on the calculus here. On one hand, a lot of years is a long time to a young person. So if the offer was decades long, a young person might be more reluctant to take it. You might be more reluctant to advise them to take it, and you sort of weigh it. Negotiating is always a bird in the hand versus 2 in the bush. Right now you don't have anything, or right now you have a bird in the hand. But if you give it up to get the 2 in the bush, then those might fly away. So you're giving up what you have secure for something that might be better, but it also could get worse. And so I always kind of analogize, a bird in the hand and 2 in the bush when you're negotiating. Here, it was obviously a lot of years, and the defense decided, look, we have a strong case at trial, and even if the worst were to happen in terms of sentencing for this case, he's probably looking at parole at some point, and it's not worth it to take the plea agreement. I'd rather take my chances at trial.
Sure. Joseph, Tully, thank you kindly for all of that really helpful insight. Let's go into the courtroom. The defendant took the stand. Remember, they took the stand. If you missed it, he got very emotional at certain points. Let's go back to that moment now.
As you began to try to back up, what happened at that point?
I got hit.
Where did you get hit?
It was the side of my head, I want to say, but I couldn't really tell where.
And when you say it was the side of your head, could you tell which side?
I only found out after.
Okay. And how were you feeling at that point?
Everything just went black.
When you say everything went black, what's the next thing that you remember?
My face was in the ground.
Could you see where Tyler DeSilva was? What could you see?
Just the ground. And people were just stomping and kicking and punching everywhere.
Did you have the knife in your hand at that point?
No.
Where was the knife?
It was in my pocket.
Could you see any way to escape?
No.
Did you try to get up?
Yeah.
Could you get up?
No.
Why not?
There was just so many people hitting me and just everywhere.
What could you hear?
They were yelling and it was so weird. They were just yelling like, I can't even describe it.
Did you hear anyone say, yes, sir?
I heard a whole bunch of things I can't.
Could you hear anything from Mr. DeSilva?
No.
Could you see the vehicle that you had arrived in, Jack Snyder's car?
No.
Could you see any way to make an escape from your position? Where were the other people that were kicking you, as you've described it?
All around me, on top of me, behind me.
Could you see who was on top of you?
No.
Could you tell what the person or persons that were on top of you were doing?
Hitting me.
Where were they hitting you?
My head, the back of my head, kicking at the front of my face, my ribs, everywhere.
Did you get the sense that they were going to let you up and let you go? What did you do at that point?
I went to cover my head in like a fetal position.
Did that seem to have any effect? What did you hope would happen if you went into the fetal position?
That they would stop.
Did they stop?
They did not.
Put us there on that lawn with you in the fetal position. What were you feeling?
Hopeless. Scared. Terrified.
Why hopeless?
Because they just weren't stopping.
How were you feeling physically?
Hurt.
What hurt?
Everything.
Did you lose consciousness?
After the first hit, yeah.
What happened next?
As I was in the fetal position, covering the sides of my head and the top of my head with my forehead into the dirt, I was almost like hunched over, and then I reached in my pocket and grabbed the knife.
What were you thinking when your hand touched that knife?
It felt like the only thing that would help me.
What were you seeing at that point around you?
My face was in the dirt. I couldn't really see. I just felt nothing changed.
Could you see Tyler De Silva?
No.
Could you hear Tyler De Silva?
No.
What could you hear?
Still just the same screaming. That's it.
Did the group give any indication that they were going to stop or let you up?
No.
What happened next?
After I took the knife out of my pocket, I started waving and just stabbing in every direction, just flailing my arm around.
Could you tell if you'd hit anything? Did that seem to have any effect on the attack?
No, it made me more scared.
Why did it make you more scared?
Because it didn't change what they were doing, and it didn't stop them from doing anything.
Were they still kicking you?
Yeah.
Was someone still on top of you?
Yeah, there were so many people on top of me.
Were you able to get up at that point?
No.
What happened next?
I kept flailing my arm around, just trying to get them away from me.
Were you aiming for anyone?
No.
Were you aiming for Ryan Hines?
No.
You weren't trying to kill Ryan Hines?
No.
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to step aside from this case for just a moment. I want to show you a live look outside of the courthouse in Connecticut where this case is happening. Everyone should be entering the courthouse over the next few minutes and getting all set for the closings to begin at 10 a.m. Eastern. We'll be right back after this.
Matriarch of the Adelson family gets arrested.
Donna Adelson is facing charges of murder, the death of her former son-in-law, Dan Markell.
Prosecutors say a bitter child custody battle was the motive for the murder-for-hire plot.
Now that Donna has turned into a defendant, what's next for the Adelson clan?
Now that the ship is really sinking fast, blood doesn't matter that much.
The Matriarch Mastermind Murder Trial. Live coverage begins this August on Court TV.
Do you recall what the defendant did when he came back on the property? Did he slip and fall?
No, he went after the closest person to him, which was Jimmy, and with a purpose, and stabbed him.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. We're getting ready for the closing arguments to begin at 10 a.m. Eastern in the murder trial for defendant Raul Valley. This young man is accused of fatally stabbing 17-year-old Jimmy McGrath. He's also accused of injuring unlawfully 3 other young men. This was over the course of 2 high school parties We gear up for the closing arguments this morning by showing you the very best moments of the trial. Let's go back to the defendant on the stand. This time, we're going to see him on cross.
You get out of the car with the knife, correct, at this point?
No.
Because according to you, on direct examination, Jack gave you the knife when you got out of the car at that point, correct?
Yes.
Right. So you did get out of the car with the knife at this point, right? When
Objection, Your Honor. That mischaracterizes the testimony. He did not testify that he got out of with the knife.
So the witness indicated yes. I'm going to go back to the last question. I'm going to hear the last question again.
So Jack gave you the knife when you got out of the car, correct?
I was already outside of the car, yes.
And he gave you the knife at that point, right?
Yes.
And he gave you the knife when you got out of the car, at that point when the car initially stopped, right? Car stops, you get out, you get the knife, right?
Yes.
So you're in possession of the knife when you initially get out of the car on May 14th of 2022, right?
Objection, Your Honor. I think that mischaracterizes the testimony.
Sustained.
When you get out of the car stops in front of 36 Laurel Glen. You get out of the car, right?
After Mackenzie, yes.
Mackenzie's walking down the street, right?
Yes.
And when you're out of the car, Jack gives you the knife, right?
Tosses it at me, yes.
Right. And at some point after that, Tyler DeSilva gets out of the car and walks around the car towards you, right?
No, Tyler DeSilva was already next to me when that happened.
By the way, when Jack gives you the knife, do you catch it?
No.
Does it fall?
It fell.
It fell. Okay.
Yes.
Play.
That's when it falls.
Stop. Stop. So thank you. So we didn't see you bend down to pick anything up, correct?
No, I bent down to pick it up when I was...
Let's strike everything after. No.
Court is calling this tray. The witness's response after no.
So at this point in time, on States 44, you're in possession of the knife at this point, correct?
Yes.
Now these are the kids from 43 Laurel Glen that just ran down towards you, right?
Yes.
When they came down the street, did they have any weapons on them?
I didn't look to see if they had any weapons.
But you didn't see any weapons, right?
I didn't look to see if they had any weapons.
They didn't have any weapons on them, right?
I didn't look to see if they had any weapons.
So you didn't see any weapons on them that night, right?
I didn't look. How would I?
So at this point in time, there's no fighting going on down there, right?
No.
And after this video stops, no fight occurs down this end of the street, right?
As they ran down, we said...
Yes or no answer. No fight happens after this video stops, right? No physical altercation happens down this end of the street, correct?
No.
Right. So you have the knife. You don't see anybody else with a weapon. Jack drives off. Mackenzie's down the other end of the street, right? She's at the corner of farmhouse in Laurel Glen.
Yes.
And Dimitri, Will, and Keenan are still in the car as the car drives away, right?
Yes.
So when Jack gave you the knife, they were in the vicinity of seeing that happen, correct?
They were in the car.
Right. These kids right here?
Yeah.
They're chasing you? They stopped. Right?
I didn't look backwards.
But they stopped, right? The video shows that they're stopped here at this point, right? They're not chasing you up to the car, right?
The camera turns.
Play it again. Just keep playing. That's you, right?
Yes.
And you're at the car by yourself? Stop it. Do you see any kids coming now from your left side if they're chasing you?
I didn't look that way.
But in the video, they're not chasing you, right?
I didn't look that way.
My question to you is, in the video, they're not chasing you to the car, right?
No?
No. They play it. Stop. Now, at this point, the kids are retreating back onto the property, right?
I was just looking for Tyler.
So the answer to my question is you didn't see where the kids were retreating back to then, right?
I just looked for Tyler.
But they didn't come after you at the car, right?
I just looked for Tyler. I don't know.
I would move to strike as non-responsive.
Court will strike the witness's last response.
You indicated on direct examination that you were thrown into the car. You remember testifying to that?
Yeah, I was pushed towards the car.
But the video doesn't show you being thrown into the car, does it?
I guess not.
You just testified that I didn't want to turn my back on these people, right?
Yes.
But you turned your back on these people when you were trying to get out of there, right?
I was facing backwards.
So you were facing backwards. So you're facing the group, and are you backing up like this?
No, I was standing there.
Right. You're not backing up, right?
I got hit.
Right. You're not backing up. And as a matter of fact, this is Jimmy McGrath on the left here, right?
Yes.
And he doesn't have a weapon on him, does he? And he's not engaging you, is he?
Stepping forward.
He's stepping forward?
Yeah. They all stepped forward.
But he doesn't have a weapon on him, does he?
Not that I saw, no.
Then it would be unfair for somebody who doesn't have a weapon to be stabbed by somebody who does, right?
I didn't try to stab anybody.
But you stabbed him, didn't you?
Yes.
You turned around and stabbed Jimmy McGrath in his chest.
No.
So you didn't stab him?
I didn't see it happen. I didn't feel me stab. I didn't go up to him and stab him.
Are you saying it was somebody else that stabbed Jimmy McGrath?
I was the only one with a knife.
Correct. You were the only one with the knife. And you turned around and you stabbed Jimmy McGrath in the chest.
All right, prosecutor really went hard on him during that cross. We're going to show you what it looks like outside of the courthouse right now. There's a pretty shot of the building in Connecticut where this trial is taking place. Everybody filing into the courthouse over the next few minutes. And then 10 a.m. Eastern time is when we expect the arguments to kick off. We'll be right back with more Court TV Live. We are so grateful for your company on this Thursday morning. Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Julie Grant. We're showing you the most key testimony in the Preppy Party Murder Trial as we get all ready for the closing arguments to kick off in less than an hour from now. While we wait, let's go back in and watch some of witness Tyler De Silva on direct, talking about the defendant's demeanor right before and during the fatal altercation.
Could you have left the area and gone home?
Could have, yes.
Could you have called the police at that point about the damage to Jack's car?
You could have.
But you did.
You did not.
At that point in time, if Jack didn't want to drive you home, could you have called somebody for a ride?
Yes.
When you were down there and the defendant was acting aggressively and indicating, Jack, you're going to let them do you like this, tell me, did anything else happen during that interaction with you, Jack, and the defendant?
Outside of the car, it was more exactly what you said. It was aggressive, anger from the defendant. Not to say, yes, I was upset as well, and so was Jack. When I mentioned to Jack, let me go down and talk to him. I know these kids better than any of you guys. We began to get back into the car.
And when you got back into the car, who was getting into the car?
Lito got into the front passenger seat before me, and I was going around the car to get into the back.
And when you were getting into the car, what, if anything, was said when you were getting into the car?
I heard the defendant say, Jack, give me the knife.
And did you see a knife that night?
I did not.
Did you see Jack hand the defendant the knife?
I did not.
And when you were getting back into the car, did you have a knife on you?
I did not.
And do you know whether or not the defendant knows anybody at the Rich household?
I did not.
Do you know why the defendant was getting in the car at that point in time?
Not really.
And at some point, did you drive back down to 43 Laurel Glen?
Did, yeah.
Tell me about that. Where did you, what happened when you were driving down?
So we drove straight back down. Like right when we get in that car, and I explained that point where I heard the defendant ask for a knife. That was very to me getting in and us driving down. And when we drove down, I got out of the car and walked straight up.
Where did you get out of the car? You can show me in States 49.
I got out right here. I got out right in front of the mailbox almost.
Okay, so if I'm pointing in States 49, Jack pulled the car up somewhere in this area in front of the mailbox?
Yeah, right around that area.
Facing Adams?
Yes.
And you got out of the car and you walked up to where?
I walked up right a little past the grass, but then onto the pavement.
Onto where?
Pavement. Driveway.
States 5, maybe up this area here?
Yes, yeah.
When you get out of the car, did you notice anybody with you?
So when I got out of the car, I thought it was just going to be me, and then I noticed Lito was on my right-hand side of me.
And when you saw Lito on your right-hand side, what did you think to yourself at that point?
I just kind of thought, what is he doing? There's no one he knows here. It's not a smart idea for him to be coming up.
Why wouldn't it be a smart idea?
It's because no one knows him, right? Me being me and knowing people, I thought maybe I could talk to Tyler Rich and it wouldn't be a big thing. But seeing him coming up to the right side and having both of us walking up just would not be something that would be smart.
And why wouldn't it be smart?
He was really angry before. I don't think he was looking to talk peacefully like I was to talk to Tyler Rich about the damages. He didn't know Tyler Rich, so what is he going to talk about?
And with regards to going back there and the defendant getting out, did you think that it was going to end well?
No.
Why?
Like I said, he was upset, he was angry, he was showing it way more. He wasn't looking. I feel like he wasn't looking for anything peaceful.
What do you think the jury is thinking after hearing from all of these witnesses and from the defendant himself? And is there any lesson to be learned from this? Let's bring in our legal analyst guest, Joseph Tully, joining us from California this morning. Joseph, I'm curious if there's any lesson you can think of that is to be learned from what happened in this tragic incident that we know there were no winners in. No matter what way this case goes, it's a losing case for everybody, as all of these kids' lives are forever altered. Tell me, what are the possible takeaways as you may see them?
Sure. In terms of a life lesson, I always think it's a really good idea to get children, young kids involved in some kind of, self-defense, just at least on a basic level. And in self-defense courses, karate, judo, aikido, whatever, they'll always teach, look, the best block is not to be there in the first place. And I just think this is an incredible tragedy involving young people. As you said, their lives are altered forever in a very negative way. A lot of heartbreak has occurred. But really, it could have happened it could have been prevented if people just weren't there in the first place. You just walk away. If a situation's getting tense, you walk away from it. If you think something's going to be, going to be a negative, violent situation, you don't go there. You don't pursue it. There is really no reason for the group to go to the second party to confront this other group. That being said, that's a lot different than the legal situation. The legal situation is, does self-defense apply? Connecticut is not a stand your ground case, or stand your ground state. So there is a duty to retreat, and that'll play into the analysis here.
Mm-hmm. Joseph, thank you for that. That's important to think about too. Another thing we can think about with this one, and this is disturbing, it is just the facts that we have. When we think of self-defense cases involving knives, and I know you've tried many of these cases, different from cases with firearms. There's something, as you know, very intimate and close with a stabbing. When you think about what it takes to be so close to someone else's body that you're able to extend an arm and use a weapon on them. How do you think the weapon plays in this case on these facts?
Sure. I think The knife is different than a gun. As you said, you have to be very close to someone. And if you're so close, the thought is, how can someone really reach out with their arm affirmatively and hurt someone else, knowing that there's a blade, a sharp blade in your hand, and you're going to cause that kind of damage to someone. On the other hand, as we talked about earlier, both sides in a self-defense case or a case like this are going to use the exact same facts. They're just going to spin it. So from the defense perspective, you wouldn't have used the knife on someone unless they were so close to you that they could do you harm. And there's no real evidence here in the video that he was running, sprinting, 30 feet away to get someone. There's a little bit of an affirmative, walking towards someone, but not where he's really running super close. It is all within the realm of self-defense, in my opinion, in looking at the video and listening to the witness testimony. So it's on one hand, it's good for the prosecution. On one hand, it's good for the defense.
Certainly. A great analysis. Joseph, Tully, thank you much. Stand by, kindly, please. We're going to hit a break. When we come back, we're getting ready for those all-important closing arguments. There's the defendant. This is a live look at him heading into the courthouse, very sharply dressed in a beautiful suit, as his life is on the line, in the sense that his liberty is what's at stake. He is out on bond, as you can see, which is also rare in a homicide case. Walking into the courthouse, what must he be thinking? As the judge and the jury and all of us get ready to watch the closing arguments. Be right back.
Friday night, the WNBA is on Ion. The Dream aimed to be a nightmare for the Fever.
Comes in and finishes.
Then the Sun tried to outshine the Storm.
Oh, like that!
Coverage begins Friday, July 11th at 7. Find Ion wherever you watch. Ion, it's on. These are the cases that captivated the world.
Couldn't keep my life straight. They were killed by their own children.
That challenged the legal system and ourselves. Court TV, Legendary Trials.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Julie Grant. The defendant just arrived at the courthouse just a couple of moments ago. I believe we wanted to show you that. There he is. Mr. Raul Valley, 20 years old now. He was 16 at the time that the incident in question took place. We know that there was a homicide that was committed by him. Okay, so that's undeniable. The question is whether it was a justifiable homicide. Was young man Jimmy McGrath killed in self-defense? Or was it a murder, as the state of Connecticut is alleging here? So we're getting closer and closer to those closing arguments in what we're calling the Preppy Party Murder Trial. We're looking back at the very best moments of this case all throughout this hour. Now, let's turn to the testimony of victim Faison Teal. He was injured. He was one of the young men injured in this stabbing. And he told the jury it was the worst day of his life.
When I was telling them to leave, they weren't moving at first, and then we started rocking the car. Back and forth. Then after that, they left. They went straight down the road, and they started coming back and forth. When the car returned, two individuals got out of the motor vehicle, and they came up to us around
the front of the Rich's house.
I said, y'all gotta leave and get out of here.
And what was the defense reaction to you saying he had to leave?
Just disregarded.
And did he argue with you?
Not with me personally, no.
Was he arguing with anybody?
Yes.
What was he doing?
They was just standing there and they was bickering with Tyler Rich, arguing with him.
It's how long would you say the arguing back and forth lasted for?
30 seconds, if that.
After 30 seconds, did something happen?
Yes.
What happened?
A punch was thrown.
Do you recall who threw that punch?
Yes, I do.
Who threw that punch?
Tyler Rich.
And do you recall why he threw that punch?
No, I don't recall why.
Right before the punch was thrown, were you close to the defendant?
Yes.
And do you recall who out of your friends was near you at the time?
No, I do not recall, besides Tyler Rich.
Do you know Ty Wood?
Yes, I know Tyler Wood.
Do you recall if Ty Wood was near you?
Yes, he was outside with us.
Was he near you before the punch was thrown?
Yes.
And you say you know Tommy Connery?
Yes.
Was Tommy Connery close to you at the time or no?
Not really. He was a bit like behind me.
Okay.
Per se.
How about Charlie Connery? Was Charlie near you at the time?
Not too close to me, no.
Now, when the punch was thrown, do you recall who got hit?
Yes.
Who got hit?
Tyler Silva.
Did you participate in the fight?
Yes, I did.
What did you do during the fight?
I was throwing some kicks.
Okay, what kind of kicks?
Like stomps.
Were they hard? Were they soft? What kind?
They weren't too hard.
Okay. Why did you do that?
Why did I do that? Because these individuals, they came on the Tyler Rich's property uninvited, trying to cause an issue.
Okay. Now, at some point in time, did you stop engaging in the fight?
Yeah.
Why did you do that?
Because I was like, it was time to start breaking up the fight.
How long would you say it lasted for, your interaction?
My interaction, like 20 seconds, if that.
And when that was going on, were you closer to Tyler Da Silva or the defendant?
I do not recall.
But you were involved in the fight?
Yes, I was.
At some point in time, tell us what happens after you stop fighting.
After I stopped fighting, stopped fighting, at first I see Tommy Connery on the ground, like with his legs. It's like he couldn't move.
Why couldn't he move?
He was stabbed. And
what did you observe about Tommy?
Like he was laying on the grass, like he couldn't move at all, and there was just blood coming from his legs. And then I looked over to the right of him, and I seen Jimmy, just sitting there bleeding out, and Sal and Jacob were trying to help him. And then after that, someone came up to me with a flashlight, and they was face on your arm, and all I saw was a big piece of fat hanging out of my arm, and just blood bleeding down the side of me.
Oh, this is just awful. I mean, think about that, to be stabbed in your lifetime. What a horrific thing. And at such a young age. These kids that go to this prep school experience this. Let's bring in our legal analyst guest, criminal defense attorney Joseph Tully. Joseph, this is another aspect about this. I've talked about it before with one of our previous show guests and would love to raise it with you. And when we think about parents with children, I am sure it's just endless worry, right? No matter how big your kids are or how smart and how good they are, things can happen anywhere. Case in point, something like this, the prep school. These kids go to a party. It's supposed to be a night of fun. They're all friends. And then look what happens here. Are there any takeaways you can think of for parents? We have a lot of wonderful courties at home, as we like to call them. They're affectionately known as the courties, our great Court TV audience, and who are parents and grandparents. And seeing this trial, I'm sure a lot of hearts are breaking for the parents involved in this case. Your thoughts on what any parents might take away from this fatal stabbing case?
Sure. So just in terms of, I have a son, and parent to parent, I suppose. I do think getting children involved in self-defense, arts, martial arts is a good thing. And here's why. When you have self-confidence and when you have some education on self-defense, you're less prone to use it. You're more able to walk away. You don't have nerves going through you. You don't have adrenaline. You're thinking, okay, if this happens, I need to do a block. If this happens, I need to protect myself. If that happens, then I can, protect myself and run away. And there's sort of less, you have less to prove when you, are in something like a boxing or martial art, because you get it out of your system, or you're just less nervous about it. You're more able to walk away from a fight because it's less of a big deal. So I would highly encourage parents to get their children involved in a self-defense, a martial art, something. And it's because you'd think that it might encourage violence. Well, I know how to fight, therefore I'm going to fight. I believe that that experience will show that the opposite is true, that people are more able to walk away from a fight when they're more educated and just it's less of a big deal to them.
That's great insight, great advice. Joseph Tully, thank you so much for weighing in on this case. We'll see what happens when the closing arguments kick off in just a couple of minutes.